Before we go on, I would like to refer to you to an article in Frontline magazine from 12th to 25th January. So it must be out of, you can look on the website. The article is on the state of the nation, and it speaks there a lot about the issue of Manipur, Kashmir and Manipur. And then this issue of the Helka, dated 26 January, I bought it yesterday from Gauhati Airport. Look east, but through the northeast. Many of us have seen the document, Look East policy. It's voluminous, takes time to go through it. But there's nothing for the northeast. And yet, our chief ministers welcome that. Our chief ministers welcome that, and some of them asked them, did you read it? They said, we don't have the time. So who suggested you to accept it? They didn't say anything. So that is how it works in whole of Northeast India. Let me begin by sharing some experiences. I've been challenged by one of our late kings who resisted the British annexation of his territory. But he was imprisoned and put in Dhaka. And he was asked by the British, coerced by the British to accept British rule. And then he'll be released from prison. But his words, translated into English, are like this. When his reply to the British, better to die a king than rule like a vassal. And if you come to Shillong, before you come to the library, State Central Library, which is now called Sosotan Auditorium, you will find this plaque over there. We have put a stone monolith over there, and at the bottom, that is engraved. Better to die a king in prison rather than to rule as a vassal. So that should go to many of our rulers in Northeast India, including the Chief Minister of Manipur, who came back with a thumping majority in the last elections, despite the people's resistance to AFSPA and so many things that happened to Manipur. Then, my revelation of Northeast India, though I was born in Shillong, I'm a Khasi, but I had my education outside Northeast. My first exposure to Northeast India was when I was invited to a place in Tripura to attend the Baptist annual meeting. So I took the bus from Shillong to Karimganj, Assam bus. From Karimganj to Dharmanagar, traveled by train, few kilometers. Stayed a night in Dharmanagar, and early in the morning went to the bus station to get a ticket to Darchoy. And at the counter, they told me there is no such place as Darchoy in Tripura. And here, the Tripura Baptist Church Union invited me to come to Darchoy. And how here I entered the border town of Tripura, and I am told there is no Darchoy in Tripura. So immediately my tribal temper got up. And I shouted, and I banged, and then I've come all the way from Shillong, and you tell me there's no Darchoy? Because my voice is loud, like an earthquake. So they consulted among themselves and they said, sir, wait. We'll get back to you. Then they got back to me and they said, yes sir, sorry, there is Darchoy, but there is no bus going to Darchoy. I said, okay, fine. Now you agree there's Darchoy? Yes. Now tell me, how do I go there? So you take, I'll not forget since 78, you take a bus, we'll give you a ticket to Kumarghat. At Kumarghat, you turn left, you take a Thera for 4 kilometers. I said, okay, fine. So I walked from Kumarghat 4 kilometers. Darchoy is the biggest tribal village in Tripura. And yet our friends who came to Tripura from across East Pakistan then did not know where is Darchoi. Then another story, because you talked earlier about demographic imbalance. Way back in 1931, the Assam Pradesh Congress Committee, now you may wonder, it was British rule, but the Congress also was ruling. The Assam Pradesh Congress Committee sent a message to Rajendra Prasad and Jawaharlal Nehru that Assam is being flooded by influx from across, in other words, from East Bengal. Nehru preferred to keep quiet. Rajendra Prasad replied and said, that can be solved, no problem. We will bring Hindu population from Bihar and Orissa to balance the Muslim population of Assam. Way back in 1931. So that's how Northeast India is treated. A dumping place. It's a dumping place. I want to correct, I am not a uranium activist. I am not for uranium. I am an anti-uranium, anti-nuclear. Please correct that also. Government of India will be very happy. They said, when did he get converted? Now, we were talking this morning so much on many issues, even just now, Madhu Chandra and Dhanavir. That was all we were talking about, institutional racism. Now we're going to debate racism, casteism is racism or not. But let me come to the roots of racism. I'm a pastor. But my analysis is that religion is the root of racism. You talk about Hinduism. Yes. Apartheid in South Africa is a theology. It's a white theology that all blacks are not human beings. And that was dismantled. That theology. Slaves taken from Africa to America because the blacks are not considered to be humans. And they were whipped like cows and horses in the cotton fields of Alabama in USA. So it began with my religious theology. I won't say Christian, religious theology. And then also it began with my understanding of humanity. Now, we Khasis, we think that non-Khasis are not human beings. That doesn't come from religion. It is the Khasi ethos or the Khasi concept of humanity. So you may have among the natives like that, you may have the different people, may think that you are the only human beings. When I came back from school in the holidays, so they looked from the backside and then they saw me, they said, oh, we thought in Khasi, the Khar is a non-Khasi and Brio is a human being. So when they saw me, they said, oh, we thought you were the Khar, but you are a human being. In other words, in the Khasi understanding of humanity, only the Khasis are human beings. So it begins with our own worldview, our own perspective, our own understanding of what is and who is humanity. If you go to the origin of racism. So I will not read this because you'll get all of that. I'll just highlight some of the areas that are here. But what is racism actually? Racism, it may be defined as the hatred of one person by another. The moment you begin to hate that person, then you put up your racial antenna. And we talk in Northeast India, it's a question of revival. Why is there ethnic conflict? Why there was that Dimasa conflict which my church was involved since 2003? And it is a question of identity, it's a question of survival, a question of land. Or the belief that another person is less than human, as I told you earlier just now, the theology that we have. Because of skin, color, language, custom, place of birth, or factor that supposedly reveals the basic nature of that person. And that concept, that understanding of racism or us being racial has influenced wars, the uneasy calm that you have in Manipur, because I've been involved very much with the ethnic conflict in the whole of Northeast India, slavery, which I just told you about, the formation of nations, and the legal codes have been formed to legalize racism. And we look at the Constitution of India. Our friends from abroad, they always say, no, the Indian Constitution is very elaborate and very lengthy, beautiful Constitution. Yes, it's beautiful words we have, because we Indians are very good with words. I'm using the word we Indians because I identify myself. I'm using a Bengali kurta. In the Indian Constitution to their freedom rights and recognizing the fact that India is a land of many peoples, races, cultures, ethnicity, language, and religions. Despite this fact, there is a systemic approach to convert heterogeneity to homogeneity, which you have spelled here. We are talking about homogenization. Homogenization is nothing like the fascist movement of Nazism in Germany by Hitler. Through institutional racism, also known as structural racism, we talk about AFSPA. It's just one of the means to structure racism. State racism or systematic racism, which is none other than racial discrimination by governments, this is a quotation, corporations, we talk about transnational companies and multinational companies, religions or educational institutions or other large organizations with the power to influence the lives of many individuals. Accepting FDI multi-brand retail. So you have Walmart dictating us what to grow, what to produce, what to make. Or as defined by Stokely Carmichael in the late 1960s as the collective failure of an organization to provide an appropriate and professional service to people because of their color, culture, or ethnic origin. Highest investment is in Northeast. And Northeast people are the highest taxpayers in the whole of India. You know? We may be rebels, we may be underground, but we pay tax to the government of India. We are not beggars. We are treated like beggars. We have invested so much into Northeast. You people, why don't you accept us? Why don't you agree with us? Our policies, we put so much money. But we are the highest taxpayers, directly and indirectly. Without any companies, without any industries in Northeast India, yet we are the highest. Who are the highest taxpayers? Politicians and businessmen, and film actors and actresses. Highest tax evaders. The United Nations does not define racism, but according to the UN Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, the term racial discrimination shall mean any distinction, exclusion, restriction, or preference based on race, color, descent, or national or ethnic origin that has a purpose or effect of nullifying or impairing the recognition, enjoyment, or exercise on an equal footing of human rights and fundamental freedoms in the political, economic, social, cultural, or any other field of public life. And further, the United Nations does not distinguish between racial discrimination and ethnic discrimination. It's the same thing. Now the word nation comes from where? It comes from the Greek. Because when we translated the Bible into English, it was the British kingdom, yeah? Not British nation. So in the King James Version, the word ethne was translated into nation. And that's how we get the word ethnic. So ethnicity and nationality is the same by the origin. But by convenience they changed the meaning, as now the word singularity is changed in its meaning. The English language continues to change its meaning. The very fact that certain laws of oppression like AFSPA be invoked selectively in most parts of Northeast, including Meghalaya, parts of Meghalaya, and Kashmir, smacks of a racial prejudice. Though the establishment would not like to use that term, but instead give has given other reasons for implementation. The imposition of central planning and development on the grassroots vindicates racism as defined by the Macquarie Dictionary. Now this is what this dictionary says. The belief that human race have distinctive characteristics which determine their respective cultures, usually involving the idea that one's own race is superior and has a right to rule or dominate others. We know what is good for the people of Northeast. You don't know, right? The anti-Down movement, the research done by the Gautam University scholars and Dibrugarh scholars, university scholars is that those who plan for dams in Arunachal, in Assam, in Manipur, in Meghalaya, in Tripura, they are the elites who think what is right for us to eat and to have. We have no brains. That is racialism. That is racism. We can't think for ourselves. They have to think for us. Unfortunately, our politicians, because I was in politics myself, so I know. I stood as a candidate for MP in the last election. Unfortunately, our politicians just accept everything that comes from Delhi. And then I'll ask them to explain the policy. They will not be able to explain. They will show it to the chief secretary or the development secretary or the industry secretary to explain. And they will get out because they've got their welcome. And then they will go and then hurry another program. So they will ask the secretaries to bell the cat. Because they don't understand the papers. They don't have time to read. I gave 2 chief ministers of Assam the whole compendium on the World Union hearing that we had in Salzburg in 1992. Then another chief minister said, Pastor, can I get one? I said, sorry, it costs me money. Because I have to go again, get it Xerox, get it, bind it and all that and give. I said, I don't have money to do that. You give me, I'll do it. But I cannot give you free anymore. Go to that chief minister's secretariat and get it. See, there's a problem with our people. So related to the issue of racism and racial or ethnic discrimination is the issue of racial profiling, which Madhu just shared just now. How many of us are really into it? Racism has always been the instrument of discrimination and a tool of exploitation. And someone has said, as globalization in its current form expands, so too does inequality that accompanies it. Rising inequality can result in an increase in racial bias for scapegoating or advancing xenophobia and isolationist tendencies. Now, what happened? The Jivan Reddy report said revoke AFSPA. And now also the Justice Verma regarding the rape issue is that the military should not be judged by AFSPA but by civil law. The governor of Meghalaya has said remove AFSPA and amend CRPC. The NCCI, of which I was a member in 2004, we wrote repeal AFSPA. But the government of India is not ready to accept that. Even though I.M. Sharmila still goes on hunger strike for 13 years running. But the government of India would rather listen to US to bring the Indo-US nuclear deal. Listen to US to bring in FDI. Listen to France to allow Lafarge to operate in the whole of India, as well as to construct the Jaitapur nuclear power plant. Listen to Russia also. You must do some balancing act to allow Kunukalam to come up at the expense of the local resistance. That is what we call institutional racism. Rather, the Manmohan Singh government would rather listen to foreign governments. The structural adjustment policies brought in by Narendra Modi with Manmohan Singh as finance minister is a dictates of the World Bank and IMF. But Manmohan Singh, having been served the World Bank, he knows. You don't have to go and do it. He just did it. And World Bank relieved India of its debts. Rather than to listen to your voice and to my voice. Because racism is a global issue, not simply a local issue. Now, I will jump because my time is running out. I don't want the chairman to tell me. Now we come to singularity. So when I first got email, this text, this team, I put up my antenna, you know. What? I call them no more. What is the singularity of India? What are you talking about? Are you going to talk again national integration? No, they just had national integration camp for youth. It ended on 12th January, which is the birthday of Vivekananda, National Youth Day in Mysore. I just looked up on the website, they had that. So I said, you can talk about national integration from Manipur, from Arunachal? What kind of integration? No. It's a different thing altogether. So I had to look up the word, what is singularity? It has got to do more with science and maths, the word singularity. Nothing to do with politics, actually. So technological singularity, mathematical singularity, chemical singularity, nothing to do with nationhood. So how you guys picked up this word? Tell me. Don't be bluffed by certain scholars, some ideologues that bring you these words. The state of being as a noun singularity means the state of being singular, distinct, peculiar, uncommon, or unusual. So how can you talk of singularity of India? Okay. Right? So I put in this way. In this context of India, in the context of India, its singularity would be its distinctiveness. In being a country of tolerance, ahimsa, non-violence, of respect and plurality with diverse cultures, traditions, languages, ethnic groups, and how they can coexist side by side in equality and equity. Now, equity means different thing from equality. So you need to use both words. Then I will end with this quote. The view that nationalism and national identity are rooted in a broad civilizational framework should not make us oblivious of the role of primordial, ethnic, religious, and regional identities. Now, regarding the rape in Delhi, everybody said capital punishment, capital punishment. That is barbarous. Who civilized them? But if you go to the indigenous people's understanding, they said, punish that person by making that person compensate. So my recommendation is that those 6 or 7 people should be in jail forever. Not life imprisonment, because after 22 years you're out. But in prison for life, work and take care of the parents of that girl who died in Singapore. That is the correction. That is what we call the tribal indigenous people reformation of people. They're only human. Because now they have no breadwinner anymore. They sold their land and everything for her to be educated. She's supposed to get married next month. Who will look after them? Let those 6 people in jail work, and what they earn, give to the parents of that girl. That then will make people realize what is rape. So that is how we talk about the primordial, the value that we have in our own thinking. The issue of national identity in India is reflected in the secular democratic framework which is enshrined in the Republican constitution of the country. The ideal of national unity is reinforced by cultural pluralism, which our chief guest spoke this morning, and the composite heritage of the country. The issue of national unity and integration is closely intertwined with cultural policy. A policy of integration which discounts cultural pluralism and the composite character of Indian society and seeks to impose uniformity, homogenization, and legitimation on the country's heterogeneous population will ultimately prove to be self-defeating. So what India is doing at the moment is movement for homogeneity, for integration, will burst, like a pressure cooker one day. And who will answer when the damage is done? Thank you.